That's how it feels, guys. This is how it feels. Well, welcome to another edition of Across the Bucking Pond. I got myself a nice rum. This team makes me drink. We're back to those. Well, they made me drink anyway, but we're back to the days where, like, oh, good lord, let's get this down me quick. Oh, that's good. And I tell you what, this anyone wants to try this? It's very simple. Yeah, my American friends probably may not be able to do this, but other rums are available. Cuban rum, and a lime, 3 shots of rum, one lime, and 1 shot of salted honey water. The salted honey syrup. Banging. Okay, let's get to the good shit. Well, the bad shit. The Buccaneers lost in emphatic fashion last week when we got absolutely annihilated by the San Francisco 49ers with Brock Purdy. His parents were having the time of their lives, and I hated them for it. I really did. And I was like, yep, they're celebrating the kid. I got to keep telling myself, try not to yell obscenities at the TV because they were reveling in it. And of course they should, because their son is playing incredibly well and it's like a dream moment for him. So I get it. But my gosh, that was one of the toughest losses I've had to endure. Not as tough as the Saints. Not as tough as the Saints. But the problem is with the Saints, I felt like we're always going to bounce back because of what happened in the past. This one felt much more somber and more sobering moment. The Buccaneers lose 35-7. Donovan Smith has one of his worst outings as a Buccaneer in recent memory. I'm sure there's plenty more where that came from. Don't know what's going on with him. He's struggling. He's now being picked on. Quite funny that they don't pick on the guy who's the backup at right tackle. They pick on the left tackle. So, food for thought. Have a look at what you can do there and see what you can do to shuffle the puppies. I just wanted to do a shout out to Mike Leach, who passed away tragically. Big culture guy. Coached a lot of quarterbacks that are in this league or spent time with quarterbacks in this league. But yeah, and some offensive coordinators. Big shout out to you, brother. Hope you rest in the stars, the playbook in the stars. If you are a fan of Mike Leach, go check out his book, Swing Your Sword. It's about an uncompromising style and really good read. Anyway, let's get back to the thing at hand, the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, I said leading up to this, there are 2 big games that we got to win. The one that we just lost and this one, because these are 2 teams that are playoff teams. You need to be able to beat them. Well, the Buccaneers get a little bit of luck and they get to play at home on this one, but it's against a team that's technically on record better than the San Francisco 49ers. But that's only on record alone. Guys, as I always say, hit that like button, strip the subscribe button, and sack that notification button. And you can always intercept me in the comments. So please, if you want to bang in a comment, please do. Whatever it's about. I mean, if I got knowledge on it, I'll try and help out. If I don't have knowledge on it, I'll probably just shrug my shoulders and go, I don't know. But I'll do my best. It was one of those that made us feel a little bit like this. Yep, this team makes me drink. Let's go on and talk about some of the memes. Of course, we've seen this one floating around as always. Byron's book. There's a better one of a dive, all out, full verticals and double screens. First comment of the day, Christopher Cole. Check out Chris Cole's content on, I believe it's not Instagram, the other one. The other one. It'll come to me in a minute. But yeah, he has some very good content. Go check him out. He's a good dude and he's a big follower of the show. So always a big shout out to you, brother. Hope you're doing well. So let's get down to some of these memes. And there've been some fun stuff because in emphatic fashion, We thought we were bad. Well, at least we ain't the Colts. They shit the bed big time. And who else do they have on this? Matty Ryan. Matty ice in his veins. Not only had the biggest loss in Super Bowl history, now, the biggest, the worst loss in Super Bowl history. He now has probably the worst ever comeback given, I guess, is the one you got. I got a guest coming in here, and I've got Johnny the Professor Dean. How are you, sir? How you doing?
How's it going, man?
I'm just chilling with a daiquiri. I thought I'd go a little bit earlier because I don't usually get much time prep between shows, so
That game was crazy, man.
I didn't get to watch it. I just watched chunks of it because I was with the family.
It was insane. I mean, the Colts came out like gangbusters, bro.
Yeah, I remember because I saw our comments and everyone's like, "Oh, they're absolute trash. They're absolute trash." And I was like, I just looked up at the score and I was like, "They're getting closer. They're getting closer. They're getting
They
closer."
made everything we said in our show previous to the games, man, today look like just straight garbage. I was like, wow.
Yeah, I saw that. I loved it. Man, that was it. It was just insane for it to happen, and it's obviously again, anyone who's going to make that comment for Matt Ryan to go into the Hall of Fame, he has two big blips, two big giant zits on his face that you can't extinguish. I mean, it doesn't matter how many passing yards you've got in such a short space of time. It doesn't matter how many touchdowns you've accrued in such a short space. It doesn't matter how many
Well, he
wins.
will eventually get in. It's just going to be years down the road, man.
I don't even know that. I don't even know that you have these two big losses. I mean, I know this one isn't particular because it's regular season, but you're known for leading a team by a lot of points.
Other than Brady and Montana, I don't know any quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame that didn't have big losses. Even what's
No,
his
but to
name?
have the biggest
Oh
you
yeah,
allow
yeah,
to
the
come back
biggest
in the
comeback.
history of the game is pretty damning. I mean, that's a black nose. Sorry, that's a black eye to your resume, I'm sure.
Right.
And then obviously in the Super Bowl, you're so close to winning it, but that's a
Jim
thick.
Kelly, 4 Super Bowl losses though. That was a
Sure,
big black eye on him.
for sure. And it's a fair point. And that's it. And to be fair, it seems like they're making the Hall of Fame easier to get into every year for some people.
Well, it's never really been hard for good quarterbacks. I mean, it's you get the numbers, if except for the Raiders guy, Stabler.
Kenny Stabler, yeah.
Yeah, for some reason the Hall has a grudge against Stabler, man.
Maybe hooked up with someone's daughter. I don't know. But that's what I put it down to. That's the only reason I thought Leonardo DiCaprio didn't get an Academy Award. He probably banged someone's daughter that was in the Academy that does the votes. And he went, "Fuck it, I'm not voting for that prick." And they went, "Fine, it's done. He's never getting in." And that guy probably croaked, and they went, "Yeah, let's fucking let this kid in."
I mean, Bernie's in, and the 2 fumbles killed him.
Cool.
Back-to-back fumbles, man. Come on, 2 years.
Johnny, give me your thoughts or I know your feelings of the aftermath of this game against the San Francisco 49ers. I know you probably covered it on NFL Edition, but give me a little taste.
From the Bucs game with the 49ers?
Yeah.
That's basically what all of us called, man. We saw this coming. They're a good team. They're probably the best team in the NFL right now, and I'm putting the Bills and the Chiefs in that with them, man, because they just are. They're playing at top level, and they're getting better every friggin' week. Look at the Bucs 2020 season. That's what the San Francisco is looking at like right now.
Yeah, they're looking very dogged. Very, they've always been like that. The last few years. There's something about their culture, something about what they do. It doesn't matter what happens to them. Even with I think they were injury ridden last year.
Yep.
And they just keep going. They just keep going. And it's just impressive to see that. I don't know. There's just a mindset that's been switched on. It's like very workmanship, very working class, very like hard nosed. And they play like a brutal level of football. It doesn't look much more brutal, but it is very taxing.
It's speed. It's a speed defense, just like the Bucs have. Their defense is built just like the Bucs is. They go for speed instead of that power. That's why the Bucs have a struggle with any of the AFC North teams, because the North teams, with that 4-3 defense, they're built for power. They don't build their linebacker. They don't get their linebackers for speed. They don't. Their ends and the rushers are all strong, big, powerful guys. They don't build for power, and that's where the Bucs run into that wall at, is when they're playing against teams like that.
Absolutely, man. So we've had a bit of news come out. We got the injuries are coming. We got the injuries coming in. We got Gerald Avery's out. Not really the biggest loss in the world, but Jamal Dean and Carl Nassib for me and Vita Vea, those are the biggest losses in my opinion. I've actually thought that Carl Nassib has a solid campaign. I don't think he's had the world's greatest, but I think to come in 2 years removed from the team and then just come in, I think he's been really good. He's just been solid.
He's one of our most solid players out there. He's consistent.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's just consistent. He's not going to ever light up your reel with highlight reel stuff, but he's just solid in what he does. A bit like William Golston.
Right. Exactly. Golston's a dream. It's a good thing the Bucs have kept him, and they don't even realize what they got with him. You know what I mean?
Oh, he's such a good defender. People only think that run defense is because of him, and it's because of Hicks or Sue back in the day. When I say back in the day, it's only 1 year ago. And then you got Vita Vea in the middle. This is going to be the biggest challenge, I think. This is when
Roaches has to. I mean, Roaches has stepped up every time he's been called upon. So I'm not too worried about it. I prefer to have Vea in there because I know what he can do, but they can scheme around that.
Yeah, of course. There's things you can do. You can go to a 4-man front if they really needed to. They do 4-man looks quite often, so there's no reason they couldn't do that. But for me, I just want to be a big shout out to Nunez Roches' mother. She's an absolute peach. Hope your son enjoys his first start. She's an absolute legend. Yeah, friend of the show, friend of any Bucs fan. She sees what you're doing. If she sees what you're doing, she always showers everyone with love. She's a great woman, Nancy. So big shout out to her.
Yeah, we've had her on the show a few times.
Have we? I was going to invite Ron one time, but I chickened out last minute.
Winfield now.
Oh yes. Now we're going to talk about. Let's talk about potential comebacks.
He's supposed to play, or as what I heard is he was supposed to be playing. But how healthy is he? What can we?
He's down as questionable at the moment, I think, which is better than doubtful.
Doubtful's usually out.
Doubtful means unlikely to play. I think questionable. Greg Ullman kind of summed it up really well. Questionable means may play.
Yeah, questionable is what they designate you with if you don't really want everybody to know what's going on with your lineup.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Who else was supposed to be coming back?
We got JTS, which he's
possibly worse. Possibly worse.
Worse might be coming back. I don't want them to rush him though.
Yeah,
because I feel, and I don't know about you, but I feel we can lose this game because I don't think it's going to be an easy one to win anyway. So why throw players into harm's way when you've got 3 games that I'm not going to say they're fucking easy because that's unfair.
Yeah,
but they're easier.
Right.
One's missing a quarterback that's just been put on IR pretty much. The other team, Carolina's the team for us to beat. We nail Carolina, it's done.
Carolina, I think, is going to end up with the division.
You think they're going to win the division?
Yeah.
Wow.
I hate saying that, but I do. I honestly believe.
I'm gonna go against it. You know me. I always pull for the Bucs, regardless of the situation. They could be 1-15, and I'll still be like, yeah, the Bucs will win.
I pull for them, but I have to.
You're trying to be realistic here.
For the audience, and that's I'm being realistic about it. So.
I don't agree.
It could be a war there now. It could be a tie, and then whoever wins that Carolina game.
That's what I mean. I think if the Buccaneers have to win that Carolina game.
Yep.
Because we're now in a position where we're hoping teams lose, and we never want to be in that situation because we were never in that last year. There was never a point where you'd look up and went, I mean, you say that anyway. You always want the divisional rivals to lose, but there was no if we don't win here, we got to make sure that everyone else loses. And that was the old school Bucs. You remember that? You got to remember that feeling where you could go, the Bucs have lost. Who else is playing? Okay, let's see how they've lost. So that's good. Okay, so it's just the Saints to play, and Carolina's got Monday Night Football. I hope they lose. And that means it just means there's less separation and stuff.
I've never really been that way about it. I've always wanted to, if we win a game, I don't want nobody to have excuses. I want to be able to go in and beat. Like, all right,
agree.
we stomped the Chiefs, and all anybody can talk about is, oh, their offensive line was messed up. All right, we lost the game that season, but we shut them down in the second quarter. We actually
For sure. That game was you could see the blueprint was starting to stick.
Yeah, absolutely,
especially after halftime. After halftime, they gave up 3 points after halftime. I mean, you could call it somewhere in the second quarter as well, I guess, if you chronologize it and have a look at where exactly the point happened. But the point is,
allow a touchdown after the half.
Yeah, exactly. And 1 minute was all floodgates, and that's the one thing I've always felt with Bowles. Bowles sometimes is very much feels out an opponent first, and then he tends to get his shit together and put it together. This was just a game that, like he said, he was out coached. We were out everything, and it was clear, obvious display for us. And there wasn't any real shining moments. I think the biggest thing is Devin Tompkins. Big shout out for him. Other than the fumble, which luckily went out of bounds, I believe, or was recovered, he played. He had a really good side. That guy was not scared of contact. He played like he wanted a contract. That guy played like he wanted to be in the team. And I know what people mean about Jalen Darden. I just think sometimes Jalen Darden plays too smart, and he kicks his own ass.
He makes too many mistakes. He's like he can be spectacular at times, but he runs 100 yards to gain 5, and I'm never.
Yeah. And not only that, he doesn't stick to a lane. He tends to try and another, and then another, and then another, and then he just ends up shuffle stepping, and then someone just twats him one, and he's down on the ground.
That's what I like about Tompkins, man. He right away he has the lane. He has the lane he's going to hit, and he hits it, and
he'll get what he gets out of it.
Exactly.
And that's the best way to be, because I think if you only want to juke someone or start stutter stepping and messing around with your feet when you're one-on-one with somebody, when it's just mono on mono. Because if you beat them, it's grass. If it's not, then he gets you and he wins his battle. Great for him. Absolutely. But when you're doing it, when the whole of the special teams unit is coming down on you, all you're doing is buying them time. Because their whole thing is to converge like this. So all you're doing is allowing them to create a bubble around you. You're not going to get out of it. It's never going to happen unless you can run sideways like that. And that's not going to happen either.
My old coach told me if you see, when I played on special teams, when you see a returner step backwards, that's a step forward for us. So
absolutely. No backward steps. We don't take backward steps in football. That's what my coach always said to me. No false steps.
Right.
Every time you take a false step, you're giving space.
I've hardly ever seen Darden take the ball and just go forward only. He
catches, he sets, he looks around, sips a cup of tea, and then starts moving.
And usually it's backwards.
Because he's dancing. They get him dancing straight away. It's almost like he's trying to create a bigger play than he needs to, and sometimes you got to understand. Sometimes the goal of kick return and punt return is to take the ball and get as much as you can out of it. It's not every single time it needs to be a touchdown, because if you're forcing a touchdown, it's probably not going to happen. You can't force these things; they just happen.
Chris Cole says Darden never gets hit.
Darden was never going to fumble. He never gets hit. He ain't wrong, though. He ain't wrong, because that is spot on. And I just want to bring out Yaka and Ben Israel. Argentina might make the World Cup. I don't watch soccer, so we know. And then, of course, he said, we call it football, wankers call it soccer. Yeah, well, what I do in my spare time is my spare time. So, but I do have a wife, and she does service me occasionally. So
we have established that Steve is not a wanker.
Oh no, I'm definitely. When the wife's not at home, of course, I'll get the lotions out. I'll put the good stuff on. You got to look after number one. You got to therapy. It's therapy, right? Anyway, less about me. Oh dear. So the Bengals, they have Trey Hendrickson, Mike Hilton, and Hayden Hurst. They are out.
Hayden been out. He might have been on the field, but he hasn't been playing worth the shit anyway. And Burrow hasn't been going to him to begin with. So
absolutely. And then, of course, questionable. We got Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. I'm hoping that's more the questionable. Like, yeah, we're playing the game, but they're probably not going to play.
No, it's more questionable. Like, haha, keep counting it out.
For sure, it's with Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and Trent Taylor. So that's 3 wideouts. They still have the Mac Daddy of their wideouts in Jamar Chase, so that doesn't mean too much. But hey,
is Joe Burrow playing? Yeah, that was a rhetorical question, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was listed on the injury report, and I smirked when I saw it. I was like, "Come on, don't do this like that."
He put some Bengay on his shoulder. Oh, that's better.
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you something, man. I got the Bengals in this game, and I don't even think it's a challenge because we haven't beaten an AFC North team at all. So, and the Bengals are the best of the AFC North teams right now.
For sure. And shout out to you for putting that stat. I remember you putting it into the chat, our chat that we all have, and that's a. I looked it up. I didn't look it up, but I recalled back on those games. I was like, shit, we have not done a lick in that division, and they play physical football. They're rough and tough. They don't fuck about.
And Joe Burrow is one of the few quarterbacks who can honestly put a team on his back.
Yeah, absolutely. He put a team on his back and took him to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that no one was talented on that team.
That was a lot worse offensive line than he has now.
That's what I mean. That's why I will not excuse offensive line as a reason. I mean, it can be part of the reason that we're not doing so great at the moment, or sucking. Let's be honest. I can accept that as part of the reason, but it can't be the sole reason. But then Joe Burrow and
Tom Brady buys guys time to get open too, though.
For sure. And I think I don't know about you, but when you watch other teams play, especially I watch more Red Zone than I do any other, sit down and really watch team. I only watch two single teams play when it's like a primetime game because obviously there's no one else playing. So get that Red Zone on. It just seems so much easier for other teams to advance down the field. For us, it feels like a monumental effort.
We haven't really had that much effort getting down the field. Once we're in that red zone, we can't do nothing.
Yeah.
And you know why?
Come on.
Brady don't want to hit Mike Evans. He don't want. I honestly.
I've been saying it for years. Tom Brady doesn't trust Mike Evans. He doesn't. I've been saying it for 2 years, and no one's listening.
Mike Evans isn't the problem. I think Brady. Okay, since Brady came into the league, if you hit him a couple of times, and Ray Lewis and Ed Reed were great at doing this. You take him completely out of the game. He'll rush his passes, and I've seen that all season with Brady.
Yes,
he's throwing the ball in 2.1 seconds. Nobody gets downfield in 2.1 seconds.
Exactly.
Right? He's throwing the ball into the ground to keep from throwing interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Brady's playing scared. Brady's playing scared this year.
He's playing scared for sure. I couldn't agree more. You are 100%, and that's why. I can put some stuff on the coach, and I'm just talking about me personally. I can put some stuff on coaches, but you got to be an idiot not to think that this offense isn't been built by Brady and Leftwich together. No NFL quarterback's going to have the GOAT, or any quarterback for that matter, unless they're a backup on somebody's. You're starting quarterback, and you are going to sit down as an offensive coordinator. You're going to sit down and you're going to work through the plays. You're going to work through the film, and you're going to find out what the rhythm is, what you guys want to achieve, what your guys' goals are during that game, where you want to exploit the space, what the matchups are, all that stuff done between quarterback and OC. So I'm not going to just put it on Byron Leftwich. Yeah, I think some of the play callings.
Think about this for a minute. Brady's been in the league longer than Byron Leftwich.
For sure.
You don't think Byron Leftwich defers to him?
Of course he does. I watched a video. I think he did I'm trying to remember the name of that podcast. It's the one with Fred Taylor in, and obviously him and Fred Taylor go way back into Jacksonville. Yeah. And there's a lot of respect there.
Man, Fred Taylor was the shit too.
Yeah, Fred Taylor was the dude. If it weren't for injuries, that guy probably would have been one of the best.
Absolutely.
One of the best, for sure. I think his biggest flaw was he wasn't an end zone guy. He'd carried the ball all the way there, but they'd do something else to get it in to the end zone. That's why Maurice Jones-Drew has more touchdowns than him. But pound for pound, when they have those two together, That was I can't remember how many years they had them together, but that's a lethal backfield combination.
Jones Drew always talks about Fred Taylor was his mentor, his guardian and stuff, and he defers to Fred Taylor like I was just talking about with Leftwich and Brady.
I've met Fred Taylor, and he is one of the nicest people I've ever. Well, one of the nicest guys I've met. We just sat and had a chat. It was quite funny because it was like an autograph line, and me and him chatted for like 5 minutes, and they were like, "We need to move this guy along." No, we're having a good chat. Leave him here. You can see all these people with their fucking pens and their fucking signed helmets go, "Motherfucker, move the fuck on." And I'm like, "No, we're chatting. We're talking about his son in Florida. His son went to Florida as a running back as well. We're just having a nice little chit chat, and it's good, absolute good stuff. And he's a really nice guy, and he seems like a good dude as well. But in his podcast, he spoke to him about like what's your take on being an OC and stuff. And he goes, what I call for Tom Brady will be completely different what I call for that person or that person or that person. I tailor make my offensive package to fit my quarterback because it's not my offense isn't a one size fits all. It's a one size fits that person, and then I can alter it to fit another person. I'm a tailor. Right. And that's when he said something like, "Oh, tailor made, right?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Fred Taylor made." That's good.
I 100%. Like I like as much as people call in for Leftwich's head. I mean, some of the calls I do look at them and I go, no, I don't know if I'd do that. I don't know if I'd do that.
I think Leftwich needed a couple more years with Arians.
Dude, we can do this with any team in the NFL, and I've always said this when people point out the open wide receiver. You go, look at this guy, he's open. You can do that on most plays on any given Sunday and find a wide open person. People don't understand quarterback reads. If your shoulders are pumping this way, the guy over here, you're not seeing him until the last second, and it might be too late then.
Not only that, in 2.1 seconds, and that's what Brady's been throwing the ball at. You don't have your receivers don't have time to get separation. You're rushing that pass, dude.
And we play a vertical offense as well, so it's not like we're exploiting. And for me, this has been my thing that I've been pumping. I don't know how you feel about it. I would love to get your take on it. Is we don't exploit the width of the field, we only exploit the length of the field. And I think when you get into the red zone, you need to start exploiting the width because
you have to. Like
your space is dried up.
Give Evans the 50-50 ball, please. Just quit being scared to throw. Don't throw it at his damn ankles. Throw it up where he can go up and take it away from.
And make it the only ball that he can go get. Because Josh McCown made a career out of it. No, I won't say a career, but he did it in a year. We had Jameis Winston made a career out of it. We had Ryan Fitzpatrick made the fucking bling and all that crap. I mean, it wasn't just him, it was D-Jax too. But my point being is another guy who lived off it. He was a living meme because of it. You had Mike Glennon.
All the way back to college, Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel. This guy can pluck the ball from anywhere, and we're not using him like that. We're trying to do sexy routes, and Mike Evans is, and I'm telling you, I've always said, and some people disagree with me, and it doesn't matter. Mike Evans isn't the greatest route runner. He's not. He never will. His route running is ugly. It is disgustingly ugly. But what he is a blunt force instrument. You send him up the middle and you do things like, I don't know, comebacks, you do fades, you do crossing routes, you do hitches, because everyone's expecting that vertical route. So they shit themselves and then you dial it back. That's how you get him open. He is a king of it.
You could use Mike Evans like Terrell Owens, man. Just let him be him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'll go up and he'll take the ball away from anybody. You know, we saw it last week. He went up and took out two defenders right out, snatched it. And
absolutely.
Trust him. You trust him. Come on. Just because Gronk's not there, don't mean you don't have.
That's how I was hoping they would use him, not like in the tight end position because that's ridiculous. But like, put him in the slot, send him on those vertical routes, send him up the seam. because he's going to end up with a linebacker or a tiny little slot corner that can't cover him.
They have been running across, but only in short passing downs and stuff.
Yeah, because that's what Tom Brady seems to like. Because I'm telling you, I'm telling you because I think you agree with me. This offense, this offensive playbook, there's a reason why I don't. Tom Brady's not getting in Byron Leftwich's face like he used to get with his other offensive corners, like Bill O'Brien, like Josh McDaniels. There's some really heated stuff.
Yeah, because he can't pass the buck past himself.
All I see from Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich is hugs.
Yep.
When they win. That's all I see. I don't see any. When Tom Brady's deflecting his anger or his frustration, it's at the players. He believes it's only execution. That's the only thing he thinks is wrong with his offense. It's execution. If we execute better, we'll
issues, but he's got a point in himself in them too.
Oh no, and that's not. He's not wrong because there are dud plays. The offensive line isn't as good as it was, and Tom Brady, we now know it's always been something that people have said about him that he struggles with pressure, right? And you can say that about every single quarterback in the NFL. That's not
Tom Brady. It's a special thing because we've seen it for 22 years. It's not just something that happened overnight. It's something that's been there, but nobody could get to him like that before, except your Ray Lewis's and stuff like that. Now they can get to him a little bit quicker. He knows it, and it's in the back of his head. So even when he is in a clean pocket, he rushes the pass because it's in his head.
He's probably sat and watched film and knows how long they can hold a block for. So he has a average in his clock in his head. I would not be surprised if Tom Brady, when he's watching Bucs film, goes 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds. Well, the average is 2.5 seconds, right? If I get the ball at 2.3 seconds out, they're never going to touch me.
Yeah, he's not looking to extend the play either, and that's something that bothers me. It's bothered me for a while. He doesn't even try to extend the play.
I just wanted to touch base with you on this one. When I remember, and I've said this countless times, I think pretty much every show quite recently because we're talking about Tom Brady and the chemistry between him and Mike Evans. And I remember saying to my wife during the Rams game, I said, all he needs to do is just give Mike a minute. Well, no, not a minute, but you know what I mean? It's a hypothetical. Give Mike a minute. Give Mike some time. He'll get open. It will be there. Just trust him. Just freaking trust him. There's been quarterbacks before you that have just made a career throwing.
Look how many times Mike Evans has been open and then got overthrown or underthrown.
Exactly. Mike Evans hasn't got to this point in his career. Like, people seem to think that Mike Evans is only good because Tom Brady arrived in Tampa. His stats, if you take away the touchdowns, are lower than they normally are. He usually gets a lot more yardage.
He's got 180. As bad as he's been targeted this year, he's still only 185, something like that, yards away from his next 1,000-yard season.
I always hope that he gets it before the old new extra games played, because that's always something that people kind of harp on about. Going, oh well, if he didn't have the extra game, he wouldn't have got it. And it's like, well, you can say that about a lot of people, so it doesn't really matter.
185 yards away. That should be 2 games if they throw the ball to him.
So I'll pop it in because Mike Evans is usually on my speed dial of search.
Hey, Ramona, how you doing? What are you doing over here? I ain't seen you on Thursday night lately. You over here cheating on me with the Brit?
It's the first time she's come on my show, so it's all good. Ramona, much appreciated. I love all comments, so please keep them going. Chris Cole says, use the wide receiver screen as decoy to go to deep. The only problem with that, Chris, is it means you're moving your offensive lineman in screenplays quite often.
Yeah,
and that means he's going to have even less time because this isn't a smart offensive line at the moment. I probably wouldn't tinker too much.
You have that all screwed up, man.
Yeah. I like the idea.
Donovan Smith is your run blocker. He's not a great pass blocker without help.
Mike's at 805 yards for the season at the moment, 3 touchdowns.
So 195 yards then.
It's not impossible in 4 games.
No.
5 games.
3 games. He can get it in 3 games easily, man.
I want him to get it. I want him to get it before the last game, because if he gets that, then it's kind of like tick, done. Another 1,000 yards in the bank. And this is what people don't realize when it comes to Hall of Fame time. If Mike Evans decides to hang it up, as long as nobody hits that mark where he's at, before he, because you have that time elapse, don't you? You retire and there's X amount of
4
years.
years.
Is it 4?
Yeah, 4 or 5, might be 5.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, because Peyton went in this year, didn't it? Last the Super Bowl year. When we won the Super Bowl, I think Peyton went in. Yes, yeah, I'm going with that because it was they were making a lot of jokes about him and Brady and Brady being in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with that. He retired in 2015. So yeah, 5 years, 4-ish years. Okay, cool. What I'm saying with that is, if Mike Evans retires, whoever's behind him needs to catch him up quick, because if they don't, and he's the only wide receiver with X amount of back to back from rookie season to wherever he stops when he retires, then he should be a slam dunk.
I wish some touchdown numbers would get up, and that's all on Brady, because Mike Evans has been in there. He's been there. You throw the ball to him, man. Quit trying to run the ball when you know you can't run the ball. You can't run short yardage. We're not getting any push on that offensive line, for one thing. Why try to run the ball at the goal line when you're getting pushed backwards? That's just ridiculous. And then you try those outside passes to Leonard or Rashad or whoever the hell's in there at the time, and I always hate them because
it seems so New England-esque.
Yeah, and Brady, you know what he's doing. If he's standing back like that, you know he's going to throw the ball outside, so that gives them an extra second to get there before the running back or wide receiver.
He loves those dump offs. He loves dump offs because it's low risk, it's low risk and high reward, because he throws it, and if it peels off, it's a big run. The problem is in the red zone, I don't think it works, because you need to capitalize.
Right. We're built. You got Kate Otten, and
we're built for no risk it, no biscuit.
Mike Evans, and you got Godwin running across the middle. You got 2 fade routes to the corner posts, and you got a guy in the middle. You should be able to get that. Those 2 guys on the outside on the fade routes can catch a friggin' fade and take it over. We've seen it over and over. How many times have we seen Evans catch that?
And stick K. Dotton and send him up and give him an option. So depending on what the guy on him,
let him choose to stop at the goal line or go onto the fade.
Exactly. So he either cuts in, cuts out, depending on what you give him, like an option route. Dependent on what the defender's doing, he does something different. If he can get on the same page with that shit, fake releases, fake blocks, all that crap, it's there for the taking. And I think K. Dotton could be a lot more special than a lot of people give him hope. He's already turned my head more than I expected him to be brutally honest.
I had high expectations from him coming out of college. So
I knew he was good, but I thought it'd take a year before I'd see a bit more. And I'm seeing enough, but I want more, if you know what I mean. Because I'm like, there's so much more to this guy than what we're getting.
Back down to trust again. I'm going to get burned for this, but I kind of wish that Trask had been quarterback all year long.
I'm telling you, here's the thing for you. Let's play what if. What if Tom Brady doesn't come back? Bruce Arians is still the head coach, and we go through this. Do you think the record's going to be worse or better? Because
we can't get we're leading the division right now, so I guess that's okay. But leading the division under 500 is not okay.
No. It's not. It feels like we give up one, we get one. We give up one, we get one. We give up one. Eventually, we're going to have to try and win 2. Heads are being called to roll.
I can't say that Trask will be better, but Trask would rely on his players more, I think.
Well, we'd have a different head coach. We'd have a different attitude, because it feels very flat.
Well, that's because here you got Tom Brady and Byron Leftwich over here as your offensive coordinators. That's how Todd Bowles is looking at this. And a head coach
because of what happened in the Jets. Because in the Jets, he said he got too involved with the offense that he felt that his attention wasn't on the defense enough. I remember reading these things. So he wanted to, I can trust Byron and Tom to run the offense, and I can just go do my shit.
Right. Well, that's not even his job. I don't like a head coach that involves himself in any defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator's business unless it's just ridiculous. And then fire him and get a new one. You know, that's your job as a head coach. Your job isn't to go writing the playbook up. That's what your defensive coordinator is there for, and your offensive coordinator is there to write playbook up. And then you mediate those two in the boardroom and get a game plan together. That's how it's supposed to work. He's not supposed to be micromanaging the defensive coordinator or the offensive
I
coordinator.
don't think he is. I think it's more the case of that I think he was. When you're on the hot seat,
You can see his hand in the defense.
You're going to end up doing it because you're trying to be a master of your own destiny. And what you end up doing is taking a shovel and digging deeper and deeper and deeper.
When you're on the hot seat, that's when you fire your coordinators.
Yeah, exactly.
And go get somebody else.
That's a fair assessment, because that's just like, this isn't working. This isn't. Other than a couple of games, this defense has been humming. Like, considering what we've lost and what we've gained, really, this defense is decent. It's not a bad defense whatsoever. I mean, this last game did not show it any justice. This was a real exposure.
Yeah, but no, the defense is what's won our games.
Oh, for sure.
Ain't the offense. I mean, we're getting.
Winning by comeback drives. That's not a good offense. Good offenses don't win by comeback drives. Good defenses win by comeback drives. Absolutely. So people are calling for heads to be rolled in Tampa. Like, give me your thoughts. I know for a fact that Bowles ain't going nowhere. Bowles has signed a 5-year contract, and it's more likely going to be at the kin of what Bruce Arians signed, which is about $8 million a year. There's no way the Buccaneers can swallow $8 million a year for 4 more years down the line. He's here for at least 3 years, including this year.
Which I agree with. I don't care what head coach it is; they have to have a chance to get their system in place. And with Arians, I don't know if Arians in the head office is good or bad, because I know he's looking over their shoulder, but he's not involving himself too much in the game. But what he is involved in himself is staff. He is involved in staffing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
he could, I mean, he's a big. These are all his guys. This is the coaching unit that he brought to Tampa to begin with. The only difference is a couple of people have stepped up into higher positions, and that's it. There's no new hires for this coaching staff. It is exactly the same as it was, and that's partly down to Bruce Arians. Now, I do remember reading something of Todd Bowles saying he wanted to hire a defensive coordinator, but he didn't have the time, so he ended up taking Larry Foote, and I can't remember the other gentleman's name. Yeah. So he ended up taking those guys and kind of sharing the responsibility. But if you're calling the plays yourself, it doesn't really make a massive detail in this. What makes the big story, I guess, is that he wanted to hire somebody. And that gives you a completely different look, because he's going to have to hire someone from the same, I suppose, same cloth as him, because it's got to have the same defensive philosophy, the same vibe as him. I mean, there are defensive coordinators out there that do what he does cheaper, I guess, or not as good, not as well, or not with as much talent. He's been able to get a lot out of the talent that he's got. Byron Leftwich, you obviously trust, because Tom Brady's already worked with him, and we've heard all these rumors. We heard these rumors about, like, they didn't like Tom Brady didn't like the risk it no biscuit offense, and he didn't like that
the Arians was changing their play calling and stuff, and
for sure. And I'd be interested. I'll get your take on this. I'd be interested to know because we know Tom supposedly, and this is all supposedly. This is reportedly and supposedly. No, there's no hard facts in any of this. But supposedly, I'd love to know how Byron felt about it.
You'll know. I don't think nobody will ever know about it.
Oh, no. But I'd love to know. I'd love to be the fly. I'd love to know that answer, because we all thought, on paper, we were like, the visual test was like, okay, Tom Brady doesn't like the offense. Now he gets to collaborate with Byron Leftwich. Now they're going to come up with this, like, brainchild offense made by the GOAT and Byron Leftwich, who has been a decent play caller for us for 2 years, for sure. We can't argue with that. We don't know how much of an input Bruce Arians has on that, because he did say he wanted to step away from play calling duties.
Yep.
But we know that he's been mentoring Leftwich the whole time. Yeah. We know that he's been mentoring Leftwich the whole time. Now he gets to be his own man. He's got Tom Brady to go with him. We all thought we were going to get this supreme offense that couldn't be beaten, because we got all the talent, because that offensive talent didn't dry up too much. Offensive line dried up a little bit. The skill set, the skill players, rather than Gronk, you take away Gronk, we're not as good without Gronk. Now now they bring in a few tight ends to try and help that out. They bring in Kyle Rudolph. Yes, that hasn't worked out. It hasn't worked out. Could have brought in a Jared Cook if they're looking for a guy who's only going to get you pass yards. I thought they were going to. The reason they went with Kyle Rudolph is because he can block and he can catch the ball, whereas you're not going to get that from Jared Cook. Jared Cook is a possession receiver. He's going to score you touchdowns. And he's going to score you. He's going to get you. He's going to snag balls for you. Johnny Dean's left us, so no worries. I mean, to have the wide receivers pretend that the ball is coming to them and go deep. Oh, I get you. So like a kind of like a start, Chris. So they would turn and then go. Yeah, a bit like a stop and go, but really like straight away. So they fake it and go. You know what? You couldn't use it too many times, but that's not a bad call. You put those in. You put in a few chip blocks. You put in some tight end motion. You put in a fake release from a tight end. You put in a fake block from the tight end and release. You put in a fake block from the running back and release for it. Then we're in business. Look, Todd Bowles isn't going anywhere. He's a 5-year contract and probably at $8 million a year. The Buccaneers top brass are not going to eat that contract. It's not going to happen. Not unless God falls down on their steps. Jesus walks across the river and he's like, I am here, sign me up. It's not going to happen. Now, Leftwich can be expendable. It all depends on, let's face it, Bruce Arians and Jason Light. Jason Light needs to make a decision if he's happy with what's going on offense. He also needs to make a decision. Can he deal with what kind of blowback is he going to get from his friend Bruce? Because if Bruce doesn't like it, can he live with getting rid of Bruce as well? Because that's going to be part of the parcel. That's part of the parcel. So Buccaneers could potentially get rid of Leftwich, but it could ruffle the feathers of Bruce Arians, which means Bruce Arians has got to go as well. There's this domino effect. This is the problem when you keep the whole culture together. It's a great idea in principle, but if one person's not performing, it's difficult to remove them from the process because they're a part of this kind of paternity. So it doesn't work. So what went wrong in San Francisco? Well, we got absolutely annihilated in every facet of the game, and I don't think anyone could write it any other way. There's no the shining point that is nothing. Devin Tompkins ran pretty well, and I hope he continues. That's my biggest takeaway. The Buccaneers offense got them off the field once or twice. Well, probably more than that, but it wasn't more than that. Buccaneers offense could not do a thing. It's just done. Like it didn't work. So here's some reported stories going around the NFL right now. Tom reportedly changing the game plan last minute with the players, and the coaches finding out during the game. That's interesting. It's not a fact. I like to point this is just reportedly. All right. I can't remember who reported this, but reportedly, Tom Brady is changing the game plan the night before. He's changing the game plan the night before, and the coaches don't find out till during the game. Okay. Well, part of the game plan is what you do on first down, what you do on third down, what you do on third and long, what you do on your opener, and what you do in your 2-minute drill. So I'm not all of those, and there'll be a few more. Those will be kind of scripted, so to speak. Okay. They would know pretty quickly, and they clearly aren't bothered by it because they're not doing anything to change that. There's no arguments on the field. I don't know if I buy the story. And then finally, there's another reported story that Tom Brady isn't happy with Byron Leftwich and wants him out. Well, I can believe it. But you're supposed to work together. So that means either Byron Leftwich is being so stubborn that he's not listening to you, which is a criminal offense not to listen to somebody as smart as you. But we don't know what's been going down the line, guys. We don't know if this brand of football that we've been doing so far has been Brady ball. And Byron's like, nah, my ass is on the line. I need to fucking change this shit up. We don't know. There's so many working parts to this that we'll never know. And I'm not going to put it just on Leftwich. I'm not just going to put it on this. Collectively, this team has been poor. And it's been Tom Brady's been poor. Like, how many times did wide receivers have to turn around to try and catch a deep ball? You're supposed to catch those in stride, not turn around and make the play on them. That tells me his arm's faltering. And we know in the first game that he turned around to Julio Jones and said that he doesn't think his arm's there anymore. He doesn't think his deep arm is failing. His deep arm accuracy has diminished massively. Massively. He was really good with it. Now he's just taking a lot of deep shots and miss it. Not turning the ball over on a regular basis, which is a good thing for us. But the problem is the zero risk it, which means we're not ever even getting a taste of a biscuit, guys. And I'm not saying go back to no risk it, but no biscuit. But I wonder, and hypothetically, I'm not saying I'm right here. Take Jameis Winston from his last season with no risk it, no biscuit. The last season he played with the Buccaneers, where he went 30 for 30. I honestly believe this defense, which is way more experienced, way more sure of itself, probably wouldn't stress as much as so many short field turnarounds. Because right now we're going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So isn't that the definition of throwing picks anyway? You may as well throw a pick. If you're going to go 3 and out, defense goes on, stops them, 3 and out, defense stops them, 3 and out, defense stops them, 3 and out, they score a touchdown. It just takes longer, right? So I wonder, could this defense have the stomach, the guts, the grit to deal with a turnover, more of maybe a more turnover prone? I'm not saying 30 interceptions here, but with a guy who turns over the ball maybe 15 times, but then scores 30 touchdowns. Is that a possibility? Could this defense stomach that? Could this defense eat it? Could this defense go, no, you throw them into 7. We got you. Because this defense seems like it's, other than a few games, this defense seems like they got it. There's only 3 games you can, 1, 2, 3. I'll give 4 games. 4 games. The Buccaneers, you could turn around and say the Buccaneers only lost 5 games this season. We'd all be smirking. And I will finish with my final thought. The chick that was into Brady is still into Brady, obviously, because she's getting clicks and likes. Because guess what? Every time she says, I really like Brady, people check out her Instagram. People check out her social media. She gets clicks, likes, follows, blah, 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 blah. She makes money. Do you know what her job description is? She's a social media influencer. She influenced everyone to check out her page just by saying she liked the look of Tom Brady and liked to hook up with him. Fair play to her. Good for you. It probably will never happen. She's very pretty to look at. That's about it. Let's move on. Finally, my pick. I'm picking the Bucs. I'll always pick the Bucs. I can't not do it. I wouldn't be a fan. I wouldn't be fanatical. I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be wearing this Christmas jumper if I didn't believe in my Bucs. I gotta pick the Bucs. I pick the Bucs and they win by a point. Let's go 23-21. There you go. That was my scoring prediction. I'll eat it, and I'm sure I'll get ratted for it. But I just can't pick against the Bucs. I just can't do it. It's not in my psyche. It's not in my being. I just can't do it. The moment I do that, I feel like I'm dooming my team to fail. Like I want them to fail because I want to be right. I don't want to be right. I want them to prove. I want them to. Sorry. I'd rather them prove me right in a positive sense rather than prove me right in a negative sense where I go, you suck. Watch me. I predicted that you suck. No, I can't do that. I can't do it. It's not me. Not who I am. Not my philosophy. Guys, it's been real. I don't know if me and Therese will be running a show. I know she's quite ill. She did send me a message during the show, so I don't know if Buck Wild will continue for tonight. But if not, no worries. I will catch you guys pre-game. Me and AJ turn up, and AJ, the fan of get Byron out of Tampa movement. We call it the Byron out move, or he calls it the Byron out move. Manchester United have Glazers out. The Buccaneers the Buccaneers contingent that dislike Coach Leftwich have Leftwich out. So if you're part of that contingent, keep banging that drum. You may get what you want. You never know. You may get a different offensive coordinator. There are offensive coordinators out there. Why not go find one? I believe there was Tampa Bay Ray was talking about Zach Taylor's brother. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But maybe bringing a guy like that as your offensive coordinator could be interesting. Look, guys, it's been real. It's always a pleasure, and it's never a chore. I'll see you guys pre-game. We'll see you guys post-game. Don't know if that will be of AJ or just myself. And then we'll do the aftermath where we get nitty-gritty. But hopefully I get to see you at Buc Wild. If I don't see you at Buc Wild, see you pre-game, see you post-game, see you aftermath. Guys, much love. Bucs on me, Bucs on free. 1, 2, 3. Go Bucs!